Morning, Germans. Um, there's a thing that's been happening perhaps more so recently than, yesteryear or whatever. Where it's kind of the notion of whataboutism. And maybe it's a side effect of political divisiveness, everyone getting down in the mud and whatnot like that. But it feels like I despise the notion of whataboutism as a concept because it feels like people don't use it correctly. And it feels like the only way it really can be used I think legitimately is if you're a robber who's trying to get another robber not to turn both of you in, right? It feels like it's one of those scenarios where, like, when you indulge in whataboutism, you're effectively conceding the point that both of you are scumbags, right? Well, that you're a scumbag, but that both of you are scumbags. That's effectively what you're saying. You're saying, okay, so I'm down here. Yes, I accept that I am relegated to the category of scumbag, but everyone else or all of these other stuff is also on the same level as me. Therefore, who are you to judge? Right? That's the basic concept, and it feels like okay, people don't really accept that as a concept because, again, it seems like you're conceding the point that yes, you've lost the moral high ground. No, you are not righteous. Yes, you did something wrong but everyone else also did something wrong. So we're all kind of on the same level here. Don't be judgy about this type of thing. And there's actually even like a kind of building on that concept. There's what you consider almost like a passive aggressive sort of whataboutism, where it's not like outright stated that they're doing a whataboutism. You could see it with this recent thing. Uh, Republican messages leaked, and there's this kind of like this almost vibe where people are quietly shouting this type of thing where you could tell that since the advent of like last month where a lot of fine people were crowing about the success of the Charlie Kirk assassin and acting ignobly with regards to that whole scenario, um, people have been looking for something like this on the other side, and it's not just a political thing. I think it's like something you could even see just in YouTubers who have had some sort of scandal where it's effective like they almost like there's a degree of glee, I think, when they find that someone else has also done something wrong, and they're like just kind of they take too much pleasure in the fact of exposing these types of people. Where it's kind of like, okay, so now I'm not so bad, huh? Now I don't look so bad, right? I don't know. And there's maybe not a way to prove that sort of thing, but it feels like that sort of it does exist as a phenomenon where people are they're kind of trying to do a whataboutism, but they won't say that they're doing a whataboutism. But they're kind of almost trying to a little bit juxtapose, like, oh yeah, this other bad thing happened back here, but look at this bad thing now. Like, yeah. Anyways, moving on, we have a video from Sydney Watson to review. So hopefully we can get to that, and hopefully my headphones stay tight this time. I'm not Catholic for the record. All right. Is this going to work? Hope so. I can show you. That's not this one. That's a mermaid. Never actually watched The Little Mermaid. For the record, it is almost a little bit creepy. I guess I don't think of myself as maybe I'm a little bit paranoid, but like a lot of Disney films seems to feature like underage women, and in the case of The Little Mermaid, underage woman in seashell bikini. Like it's just not super. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit strange. All right.
My ongoing question
Yes,
all of the time
it
is
works.
why are they like this? Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And this video is
Mm.
exclusively sponsored by
Mm.
my company, Lions Tea Exchange, because as
Yeah,
you all
there's a Rowan Adkins like skit that he does about hell, which is really funny. We like to be informal as well as he plays Toby, I believe, who's apparently the devil. Although in biblical lore, I don't think it ever says that like the devil is the ruler of hell. I don't know if anyone's really the ruler, if it's some sort of jailers or anything like that. It's just kind of a place where people go. Doesn't really speak of any sort of hierarchy.
Well, no, I have a ton of tea that is expiring at the end of November, although tea doesn't really expire because
Mm.
it's a dried item. But I am running a 50% off sale on my site for Earl Grey, New York Breakfast, and Emerald Green using the code WE.
For whatever reason, I really don't like Earl Grey. And I don't like, I guess I don't know, maybe it's just different strokes for different folks. But some people will actually put like, I think cream or something in Earl Grey. I've had cream in tea, and sometimes it's okay, but like it feels like, excuse me. Yeah, seems like sometimes it's just weird the way people treat tea well, in England particularly. That's kind of their whole shtick. They don't really, well, I guess maybe they do coffee now more so, but I think at one point it would have been a lot of tea. They probably still do it a lot more than American, anyways, because tea is gay coded. Sorry, no, tea is not gay. Um, but yeah,
Don't
whatever.
waste. So many of you are incredibly cool and epic because you have helped me clear so much of this. I hate throwing tea away. I hate throwing product away. It's horrible. So thank you for those of you who've ordered so far. For those of you who haven't, give it a try. I promise it is good. And for the churches and cafes that have reached out to me about taking some tea, I promise I haven't forgotten you. It's just me. So it takes me a second to get through everything. Lastly, my 3 winter flavors are back in stock. So we have bourbon barrel chai,
Okay,
peppermint.
I'm just wondering where the name came from. Lions. Lions. Yeah. All right.
White chocolate and apple cider. The peppermint white tastes pretty dang good. That is all. Link in the description. Let's do the video.
That was someone else
Now,
who did
we
that,
have
not
talked
me.
a lot on this channel about Disney and its many, many failings. But I am personally of the hope that the company will eventually learn to pull its butt out of its butt. And maybe that day is today. Who's to say? Doing lots of
Hmm.
fun rhymes. Now, some of you may or may not remember, but back in early 2025, Disney decided to stop production of its live action adaptation of the film Tangled, which was originally released in 2010. For those of you who don't know, Tangled is Disney's version of Rapunzel, and it's very cute.
Hmm.
And I like the horse Maximus, and Mother Gothel is kind of a vibe. I
Weirdly nefarious women, crafty Jewesses, other types, just generally women who think they're smarter than me. I have a weird thing for women who think they're smarter than me. They're not, for the record, but be that as it may.
I don't know what to tell you. The original film did reasonably well with audiences, grossing almost $600 million, which is likely why Disney decided it would take a run at it as its next remake victim. However, and I do always love when there's a however, after their remake of Snow White fell
This is like an unfortunate choice of hairstyle. Like I feel like this is right up there with like Princess Leia's like headphone type hairstyle thing. It's not great. Not the greatest thing that I've ever seen.
in an absolute heap this year,
Like I think that was actually a thing in the Middle Ages. Actually, the whole hairstyle. I'm not for sure though. It might have been a dude thing more than a woman. I'm not for sure about that. I've seen that hairstyle depicted in films and whatnot, like where it might have been indicative of a certain type of station almost.
Disney finally
For
got the
sure.
message, it seems, that people were over the whole live action adaptation thing. And more specifically, live action adaptation.
Weirdly, I don't. I say weirdly. Also, I don't really like bangs that much most of the time, and I don't know exactly why. I just don't like bangs that much. They kind of seem weird.
That have improperly cast lead actresses and creepy CGI people. What am I looking at here? I also have to add for the
How
40th
dare
time
you
at this stage that
be racist against those CGI dwarves? Let's see here. Hmm.
I don't quite understand what's live action about a film that is still majority animated. I don't like
Hmm.
this. Anyway, Disney went ahead and decided to pause Tangled.
Well, that's. I think that the live action is meant more to denote the style than maybe the substance of it. As I feel like it probably would have been a long time since they actually stopped using animals, like real animals in scenarios. Because I think I'm gonna guess Lion King was considered live action, and that's I mean, I guess they didn't have to train a whole bunch of lions to behave the right way. I think in Racing Stripes, which is an animated, well, not like a live action movie where they had animals talking along like a while back, they actually did have to train the animals, and it's one of those things where I think it's more difficult, maybe. There'd be a lot more work involved than just having someone CGI a whole bunch of stuff, but I feel like there's a degree of authenticity that comes with that type of stuff where it can be actually good. It's hard to replicate all of that intricacy in an artificial environment where you literally have to say like you have to try and replicate how it would physically work in a real type of, in a tangible sense. And you have to try and replicate that in a CGI recreation, which I feel like is not as like in some ways as far as the authenticity goes, as far as the intricacy goes, it would be easier actually just to use the animal and like impose something over their face to make it. But I don't know. I guess I don't know exactly how they do it nowadays.
which weirdly enough brought relief to a bunch of people. There are entire Reddit threads of people celebrating. I'm not sure what to make of this, but it's here on the internet for you to see. And to some, of course, the timing of this pull was a little bit weird because number one, if you don't have anything to hide, then why hide anything at all? Which is why there was also a ton of speculation that this Rapunzel would have been anything but white. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your braids.
Maybe you're just a private person. That's that. To be fair, I don't know if I exactly hide stuff about myself, but there's a lot of stuff I just don't mention. Kind of. It's not exactly a cover up. It's just yeah, again,
I guess, maybe. I
just
don't know. Leave me alone. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, throw us your weave? Maybe? Which, you can't blame people for making that assumption,
weirdly, I don't know if I ever remember hearing the word weave to describe hair.
given Disney's recent track record.
I guess it
How
works.
did this man produce this many different racial children? Someone
The power of inclusivity,
please explain this to me. And honestly, this wasn't even too far off.
or just really got around. Technically, there was actually, you think generally growing up that like somehow the child gets like an equal cocktail of DNA from both parents, which I think is not necessarily, well, put it this way, they do not get like the same type of DNA from both parents. They might get like certain facial features from their mother or certain facial features from the father, or like it's not like a 50-50 exactly down the middle, like half of both parents. I think you can end up with kids that have a very different sort of like cocktail of DNA and who look very different, obviously. 'Cause that happens a lot, I imagine.
Base, given that black actress Francesca Rivers was potentially going to play Rapunzel in the remake of Tangled.
Never mind.
Now, the reason that I don't want to harp on this too much is because
It weirdly looks like she has a mustache. I don't think she does. I think it's just maybe the lighting.
it was completely speculative. I could not find any
Hmm.
good or trustworthy sources reporting on this, and it may just
I I feel like if there was one one character that they would have just like for the sake of being hyper like virtue signally type BS, it would have been this one. Like blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah, they totally would have. That is totally a thing they would have done. Like race swapping her or swapping her out for at least someone who is ethnic of some sort, just less white.
well have been an internet rumor, but it does go to show that people have been
Well, there's an element I think of this too where they try to race swap people so people can feel seen, which I think it does a disservice or discredit to people that like somehow the fact that this person doesn't have the same skin color as you means that you can't see yourself in them. I think I've talked about this before. Like I don't think that's the hard cap on our imagination or conceptualization that oh, this person has different skin color, therefore I can't imagine myself in their shoes. At least I don't think it should in any case. Like doesn't it seems like a very superficial distinction, like to be so important in people's minds that they can't empathize or imagine themselves as blank person because of this superficial characteristic that this person has. Like I feel so righteous right now, telling you all how this works and how it should work. I see people,
Objected to this so much that they
not
fully
race.
believed that Disney would be so crazy as to cast this woman in this role, which obviously makes zero sense. And number two, it's like Snow White was not the first remake at all to fail, so if it's
There's like there's an element to this where like I don't exactly know what I want from country or from companies like Disney or something like that because it feels like they're safe plays where they're trying to create or they're trying to add on to franchises or make live action remakes aren't really working out because they like the people who made the originals knew what they were doing more so, and they had more universal kind of held values than the people these days. And the franchises are just not working out because people are bored of the 50th movie of blank franchise. So it feels like that maintaining the status quo is not really working. But I also don't know to what extent I trust their creativity and their new ideas because like those tend to be pretty messagey too. So like again, I don't exactly know what I want from them. I want them to put less BS in their movies. It's one of those things where I think I've talked about this before, but I feel like putting any sort of messaging in your movies narrows your margin of error. Basically, if you have no messaging whatsoever, people can watch a pretty mediocre movie and enjoy it, and it doesn't have to be that great. But the more messaging you put in the movie, the better the movie has to be. Like if you make me smile, I'll listen to your crap. But the more crap you put in it, the more you have to make me smile to make it worthwhile for me. And I mean, maybe it's a case of them overestimating how good their movie is and how funny they are as a person. But it feels like they've kind of they've passed the threshold for that in a lot of cases, where it's just like, no, this is not really worth it for me.
failure was so big that it caused the company to reevaluate. Well, I have some questions around that. Why go back to doing remakes at all? I don't know. Disney are just, they're money grubby, guys. They're very money grubby. But
Hmm.
because it's the modern era, and despite fans and viewers begging for new, well written content and
I'm just wondering why this one has like a camera on it as well, like what she uses that one for.
stories and productions, Hollywood has apparently learned nothing, and instead Tangled is back on the books. But apparently it will be different this time. According to Hollywood insider Matthew Belloni, Disney is about to cast new
Mm.
Rapunzel in the revived live action remake Tangled, and I'll bet you the price of that long braided wig that the gig will go to a white
I do
actress. This is what he wrote. That's
I do think they're probably gonna hire a white actress for this. Like it feels like the zeitgeist has changed a little bit to the point where it's no longer popular, and that's the one thing I think. I think most CEOs and most big companies are they are good at making money, and that's what they want to do. And this is kind of like what I was mentioning before, where I don't exactly know what I want from them. Do I want them to be money grubbing people who follow the dollar? In this case, it's a good thing that they're saying that hey, this there's no money in trying to inject this stuff into our movies. But also, I feel like that commitment to maintaining growth can keep people from doing a lot more like creative stuff, from taking more risks, in my mind. So again, I don't exactly know what I want from these companies with regards to that.
the quote. Sorry if that wasn't clear. The headline I also have on screen here is much more succinct, which says Disney is set to hire a white actress to star in its latest reboot after dumping DEI amid woke fury. Also accurate. I mean, yeah, you'd think so, given that Rapunzel's whole story is around her being blonde with long hair, and
Hmm.
typically white people are blonde. I don't know about the long hair part, but definitely
Well,
the
I mean,
blonde part. Same
technically, like, yes, naturally occurring. I think there are quite a few blonde black people who dyed their hair that color. Actually, a whole thing. Eh, I think there's a thing where like some actresses would maybe even lighten their skin a little bit and get blonde hair or something. I don't know. Hollywood's weird. People there are weird. Actors are all unstable, right? They're all unstable. Hitler was an artist. He was unstable. I think I've made my point.
with redheads. Oh, I forgot. We don't care about things like that anymore. Ignore me. Full disclosure, all of this is speculative at this stage, but Baloney ads. Oh my god, I just realized that his name sounds like baloney, like the food baloney.
Hmm.
It's not spelled like that, but that's all I can think of now. Anyway,
Maybe.
yeah. So he
No.
adds that he got his hands on an internal email distributed within Disney, which basically said that it was disbanding its DEI initiatives, and the company intended to empower everyone instead of select groups. Okay.
So, I hate this type of language. It feels like I'm gonna go on a rant here. It feels like people in the last I don't know how many years here have gone on kind of a rampage of villainizing the status quo, and they'll use words like systemic racism and oppression and not letting people be seen or be heard or whatever. The status quo is the status quo for a reason. In fact, it seems like kind of an unchangeable rule that most of the people get what most of the people want most of the time. And believe it or not, the status quo in the US is Eurocentric. It's white, it's heteronormative, it's cisgendered, it's Judeo-Christian, right? That is the status quo. And again, most people get what most of the people want most of the time. If you have a person with niche interests or niche, like cultural, racial, religious, or otherwise, those interests will not be serviced as readily. And sometimes those interests might even be stomped on by the status quo. It is an unfortunate reality of life. I don't know to what extent I think that should even be villainized. It is unfortunately the way of the world. Like, take it or leave it, I guess.
Okay, better late than never, I guess. In short, Baloney said that Disney is very afraid of Trump and Elon and the culture war that it is currently losing. Can't
Hmm.
imagine for the life of me why they'd be losing the culture war.
Should have stayed out of it, jackass.
Oh. Baloney. Baloney? Baloney?
All right, stop
All
giggling.
right, this feels almost illegal to know, but our windows were so old and just desperately needed to be.
Baloney also gave a bunch of examples of the ways Disney has recently shifted away from its diversity initiatives, gutting film
Hallelujah.
development areas that might get the company into trouble, removing its Reimagine Tomorrow website that served as a hub for diversity initiatives, and I
Hallelujah.
will assume she'll probably be an accurate looking Rapunzel, at least as far as the Tangled movie goes. Which oddly shouldn't be controversial, but it is, because, I don't know, I guess everything is dumb and irrational. The bottom line is that apparently, after getting kicked
Oh, I would have gotten the idea that probably the CEOs of a lot of companies don't really care about this stuff, but there's a lot of middle management in companies with delusions of grandeur and about what they should do with these companies and what should be done in the entertainment and the controlling of all this stuff that they're kind of throwing a proverbial monkey wrench into the works and that they might be responsible for more of the stuff that we see than the people that are actually at a really high level because at least the people at a high level ostensibly should be somewhat competent, but you have like the midwits that are in middle management that kind of their highest allegiance is perhaps to ideology, and they make that clear sometimes.
repeatedly in the head by audiences and having horrifically bad performing movies and content, Disney is finally somewhat leaning into what people have been asking for. Or, in the very least, their pockets hurt enough that they have finally realized that what they're doing is not working. That being destroying beloved classics, race-swapping characters left and right, getting overly political, and appealing to the activists outside and inside their company, which is obviously a failing initiative. And now they're making an attempt to purge all the things that got them in hot water
So that's
over
not, I feel like if you were to choose what type of workers you wanted to hire, like the high maintenance types would be my last choice. Right? They would be the last kid on the playground who doesn't get a team. If you're gonna be this way, if you're gonna be very persnickety about what you're willing to do or what you want to do, I don't know. It feels like you would want a more low maintenance, versatile worker, just in general.
the last little while, and led to the numerous and catastrophic box office failures that they've had, like Lightyear and Snow White. And obviously, Disney isn't just doing this with relation to its princess films. Some of you might remember a video I made towards the end of August where I told you
All right. Disney's Boy Trouble. Studio seeks the original to win back Gen Z men amid Marvel Lucasfilm
all
struggles.
that Disney was on the hunt for new original IP in an effort to win back or win over, maybe for the first time, Gen Z men. Yes, the
Maybe hire men. Toxic, toxic men.
very demographic they have been calling racist and sexist for years now. Yes, it is a true mystery why the
Racist and sexist people still pay for stuff. They have a vote like everyone else.
menfolk are not interested. Truly, I am shocked. Again, the revelation was extremely ironic given the nature of the two major male-orientated media properties Disney controls, that being Star Wars and Marvel. And maybe Indiana Jones too?
It feels like there's an element of this where I think a part of their downfall has come too from trying to get too broad an audience on the same IP, where they try to make Star Wars kind of a film that's also for girls and also for like it's primarily like I mean the space lasers, huge ships and battles with swords. It's kind of a guy thing, believe it or not. I think for the most part it's kind of a guy thing. So you either have to have really pretty women or you have to have, guys doing guy stuff. It's pretty much a guy brand, right? And I feel like they've tried to mix and match maybe a lot of their IPs where they're trying to make it also for women and also for blank or maybe even to pivot a little bit in some cases. I don't know if that's going to work really. Because like once you get past a certain point and you're trying to diversify the audience of a thing, you just end up with kind of an amorphous blob of content.
A lesser extent? Do we still like him? Is that still the collective thing? Do people like him? I mean, I do. Daddy Jones can grace my television. Be Indiana Jones to
Hmm.
a lesser extent? Do we still like him? Is that still the collective thing? Do people like him? I mean, I do. Daddy Jones
I think people didn't like the fourth one, and quite a few people didn't like the fifth one.
can grace my television screen anytime he wants. The young version.
Well, I think some of the reason why people didn't like the fourth one had to do with interdimensional beings or aliens or something like that. It feels like it was very not on brand. Where like Indiana Jones was primarily about relics and religion and all that sort of stuff. Like it was about kind of ancient cultures, whereas like aliens, kind of one of these things is not like the others a little bit. I'm not sure what all people's beef was with the fourth one, and then the fifth one was really kind of neutered Indiana Jones a little bit. I guess I don't know. I know some people liked it, some people didn't, I suppose. Never watched the fifth one.
That one with the hat and the quippy quips. If you would like to watch that video where I actually go over this, I will happily link that in the description box for all of you, so you can watch that in your own time. But jokes aside, looking at these two things side by side, the desire to appeal to young men with new written content, new made content and realizing that race swapping isn't working, and in remakes it's important to stay true to the characters as they originally appeared. It
Mhm.
really does seem like something is shifting over at Disney, and although there will be naysayers who say that's not really happening, if we think about it from a real business standpoint and not just an
Mm.
activism standpoint, it makes sense that Disney would be shifting with the times, and times are
All right. I think that's good enough. Yeah. Disney shifting. Hopefully we'll see if they're shifting. If you want to appeal to a man, make stuff blow up and put pretty girls in your whip in your movies, and don't preach at them. Again, I'm saying this before in this video, man. The more crap you put in your movie, severely depresses. I say depresses. It narrows your margin of error. So if you want a wide margin of error, just leave the messaging out. If you want to make money, leave the messaging out, and you can get away with a lot more as far as quality. That would be my advice. All right. Yeah. Disney admits it needs white actresses or something by Disney Watson. You can go check that out if you like. All right. Move. All right. I'm probably going to insert this into the VOD stream because it was kind of short and stupid, and obviously I'm much smarter and more on it right now. It's only been like half an hour or something, so fully awake now. Laser phone. No. All right. Yeah, video by CoffeeZilla about some dude who's been scamming people. Obviously, that's his whole shtick.
I may have created a monster and I want to talk about it. It's Caleb Maddox, the young entrepreneur, millionaire
He looks untrustworthy
sales guy, just got sued by the FTC.
and
We're going to
weird.
go over it. This smoke is way too much. Hold on one second. Okay, we're back. Sorry. I do feel like a Sith Lord or something for not doing more to stop this. Guys, FTC just sued Caleb Maddox and his business partner for something
Hmm.
called Air AI, which is like this sales company where they would do all your calls for you using
Yeah, part of me thinks like you should be suspicious whenever someone like preaches some sort of brand new innovation and that they're just giving it to you somehow and that it's going to make you a millionaire. Because like it's one of those things like I think he mentions this sometimes. Like if they had that sort of stuff that would just make you a millionaire overnight or something like that, they wouldn't be giving it to you. They would be using it for themselves. And it's one of those things I think too where like if you have that type of like innovation, once it reaches a saturation point, once a certain amount of people have it, it's no longer useful. It loses its utility. So if you have something that gives you an edge, why would you give that edge to everyone? At which point there is no edge anymore. You've lost the advantage. So maybe just in general be skeptical of people who are promising you the moon if they're promising the moon to a whole bunch of other people as well.
the magic of AI. Of course, it was overpromised, underdelivered.
AI, new Bluetooth. Okay. They just tack it onto everything now. Yeah, some sort of stupid nothing word. Yeah. Nah, never mind.
But unfortunately, a lot of people left feeling completely scammed.
Actually,
So much to
one
the
thing,
point that even among C,
this guy actually has been having some stuff recently. He had been in a lawsuit with Logan Paul, the pompous blowhard from. I think he used to do Vines back in the day. Then he was a fighter for a while or something. I don't know. Maybe there's mixed and matches, but there's been some. I think there's been some developments lately, so I'll have to look that up sometime here. There's been some developments in the case, perhaps, possibly.
of overpromising by AI companies, the FTC literally sued them because they were causing losses of up to $250,000 for individual businesses. The complaint
Hmm.
says Caleb and his company bilked consumers out of roughly $19
What?
million
Bilked?
over
Bilk. Bilk. Give me a second. That's one I don't know. Like blackmail and milk? Bilk. Huh. To obtain or withhold money from someone by deceit without justification. Interesting. I'm going to use that one probably. Another fun one, chicanery. I think it means some sort of fraudulent activity. Now I have to look that one up. Chicanery. Chicanery. Because it's a CHI. The use of trickery to achieve political, financial, or legal purposes. Nice.
The course of a few years, according to the FTC. Now, huge news. But I want you to know, we knew Caleb's was a grifter a long time ago. He was on our radar, not one, not two.
What's the Longmont Potion Castle? I'm seeing it as his t-shirt. I don't know if it's one of his things or what.
Not 3, but 5 years ago. You can see us here having a debate with.
They both look like Babyface, full on stuff. That's the one thing with some people, like the beard. I think helps with a lot of guys to like. I think it helps young guys to look older, and it helps old guys to look younger. It's just kind of almost a little bit of an equalizer, I think. Yeah, I like mine. With mine case, I tend to have like a bit of a weak chin, I think. So can only help that. At least with the style I have, I think it helps maybe a little bit.
At the time, I guess he was 19 or something. The millionaire visionary, who had called himself.
Don't ever trust someone who calls himself a millionaire visionary. Just on principle, I would say don't ever trust someone.
And he was basically pitching back then something called the YTA method, and he made millions of dollars with that too. Listen, the kid could sell. Well, it turns out you can sell if you overpromise stuff, and basically that's exactly what he did. And he says even on this call, if you bought his course, he was liable if you didn't basically succeed. He said it was our responsibility to make people succeed if they bought it. I'm going to play a clip from our.
I feel like sometimes when companies say stuff like that, when they say like satisfaction or your money back, I feel like they almost have to put some sort of caveat into that. Like it can't be like that simple where it's just like I'm not satisfied or you'll love it or your money back. Like it just feels like a kind of a vague sort of what's the word? Yeah, it's just sort of like a vague nothing type of phrase where like they have to have some sort of like red tape in the background that says no, you can't just say I don't like it or something. I don't know. And maybe sometimes, at least if they're starting their company out, maybe they just want a lot of goodwill, so they actually do it. But it feels like it's a long-term strategy that wouldn't really fly.
Little debate together back when me and Caleb were nothing but wee little pups, okay? And it was my chance to stop this man before he wreaked havoc on the world.
Then you call poor people passing over opportunities repeatedly. Poor people are passing over opportunities repeatedly.
I don't tell people on YouTube automation that it's their fault if they don't succeed. I don't tell people that.
You just tell poor people that.
But I will say, no. I say to everyone, if someone is YTA, I believe they took advantage of the opportunity. It's our job to get them results. So I understand where you're coming from, but I guess everyone can't understand greatness. And I've always believed small-minded people.
For the love. You just said not everyone can understand greatness. Now, where were we? I might actually have to rewind this a little bit. Hopefully I got a good still up because I want to use that as the thumbnail. It's like the perfect face. It's kind of avarice or whatever.
They took advantage of the opportunity. It's our job to get
Oh yeah, he was saying some people just don't understand greatness or something.
the results. So I understand where you're coming from, but I guess everyone can't understand greatness. And
That's something that actually irks me when people say that everyone can't understand it. What they mean is not everyone can understand this. That's one speech impediment that people need to figure out. Okay, there's a difference there. Know the difference. You're saying everyone can't understand. Not everyone can understand this thing, or not everyone does understand this thing. Yeah.
Never understand big thinkers.
It's just your typical
Never understand.
grifter slop, believe in yourself hard enough, whatever. But the core thing that he says there.
Kind of meaningless drivel or platitudes. All right, stop trying to be clever.
Look, if you sign up to his YTA method, it's his responsibility to make you successful. But follow up, a few short months later after that call, he went ahead and emailed me. And he said, "Hi, Coffee. Hope life is treating you well. I'm shooting you a message because I'd like to do a live stream with you in the middle of the week." He said he wanted to make a public confession about the YTA. He has nothing to pitch. Then he gave me a title sample, 18-year-old millionaire's public confession. This was my chance. I could have had the confession from the man back then. I tell him to be even more specific, and he says, basically, I want to explain why we have practically shut down selling YTA and processed $1.5 million in refunds. I want to retract some things I said in the previous interview and come clean. I respond, I'm fair enough. I'm down to hear you out. When's good for you? And then I followed up, and I got no response. The window had closed. But that wasn't even my...
Like, so... Is he being nice, or is he just trying to pull some fast thing?
last chance to talk to Caleb, because again, on November 2022, 2 years later, he asks if I'm open to having a call this week. He only needs 10 minutes. I respond, what?
Look at that. Yeah.
What's it about?
All right. So help me, we're going to get this thing done if it is the end of me.
No response, okay? But I could have followed up. Maybe I could have reached the guy, okay? I could have fixed him.
Oh, dear.
Now, that all brings us to 2024, 2025, when Air AI gets released. This is a chatbot where...
That's kind of the difficult... Like, I guess maybe it'll come out later whether or not he was genuine in this type of thing, but it's kind of sad when you miss chances like that. It's like the tragic moment in the movie where like the villain wants to turn to the right side, but the evil... That's never mind. It was a side tangent. Never mind.
Caleb Maddox was behind it and basically promised that, you know, they could do sales calls with their AI. And it was wildly overpromised and under-delivered for people. But here's a basic part of the demo that I want to show you real quick.
Tesla Motors. How's your day going so far?
It's going pretty good, my man. How about yourself? And you said from Tesla, right?
You probably have to take someone's word who knows a lot more about tech than me, but I feel like this is maybe AI in general is overhyped. Like it's one of those things where like a new thing comes out and the maybe the assumption from people who don't know a lot about it is that the utility of this thing is limitless and it's just the next greatest thing. I don't know. It just feels like I feel like people maybe overhype AI a little bit. Good at replicating stuff, good at mimicking stuff, or just maybe creating variations on a theme, but I have my doubts as to the unlimited utility of it.
It's the car company?
Yeah, that's right. I'm calling from Tesla Motors, the car company.
So that's the basic idea. It's a chat bot where you buy their license and it'll handle all your sales calls. That was kind of the pitch. That was kind of the idea. And now to be clear, a lot of companies are trying to do this. What made Caleb Maddox and his goons different?
That's like the thing is, like, I feel like in a lot of scenarios where you're having to deal with people are weird enough that they can tie an AI chatbot up into knots a little bit. Like, the thing is, like, I think robots, computers, they have to make sense a little bit, and people really don't make sense in a lot of ways. So in my mind, like, the notion of using chatbots or robots in any sense to replicate human interaction with regards to things like sales calls or, cashiers or stuff like that, it feels like there's maybe always going to be a necessity in some sense for like a human element. You'll need a human element in some sense to figure out the more complex or unorthodox scenarios that arise in that area. Like maybe 99% of the time the robot would be fine and that it'll be able to answer any question you have, but there's always going to be that the tiny minority of the time where you actually do need a human doing stuff.
Is that they were claiming that their AI technology can have full 10 to 40 minute long conversations that sound like a real human with infinite memory, perfect recall. And
you know what's actually weird? The other day at McDonald's, I had like a false positive where I literally thought the guy talking to me was a robot. It was super. I guess I didn't mean to offend the guy, but he literally just sounded like it was kind of this generic type of voice, and it like I was literally just like, yeah, it's a totally a robot, or at least that was my thought. That yeah, it was just some sort of robot that was talking to me or something. Yeah, again, did not mean to be offensive to the guy, but it just felt like a very generic type of voice and in responses, and or I guess like a generic tone or something. It just got me to have a false positive. And that thing might happen more and more as we get into this age of AI. That sounds too dramatic. Yeah.
Can autonomously take actions across 5,000 applications and do the entire job of a full-time agent without having to be trained, managed, or motivated. To do this, you had to get the Air AI Access card. Now, in a twist that will surprise almost no one, this conversational AI really didn't work. The FTC alleges the conversational AI technology was never available and that you had to instead build this like long tree of decisions for the AI to take in order to act.
It's like a dialogue tree. And again, it feels like that is the that is maybe the problem with AI in general, is that it's meant to replicate the notion of free will or of decision making, like of a genuine, like organic life form. It's meant to replicate that, but it is, I think, in fact, probably limited in some regards. Like it doesn't have actual decision making abilities. It doesn't have like actual creativity. Like it's going to try to replicate that, but it's not the same thing exactly. It doesn't have like genuine creativity. It's only as good as the people that are programming it to and it's only as complete as their ability to anticipate problems, I guess. That would be my theory anyways.
Actually make it work, saying that getting the conversational AI to function at all times requires a substantial time commitment where consumers must pre-script answers for every potential question, making it nearly impossible to use. Now, in addition to that, they had a twist to the whole offer where instead of like using the technology, guess what? You could also sell the technology to other people because of course.
So like a pyramid scheme? It sounds like what's yeah. Anyways. Yeah, that's a video by CoffeeZilla. I could have stopped him, so go check that out if you want to. And I will try to insert this into the larger video on demand, because again, it was kind of a short video. I think I mentioned that before. It was kind of a short video because I kept getting, well, the first stream I'd done this morning, I had issues with my earbuds not wanting to connect right to my laptop. So that was being annoying. And then, yeah, it just was not great. So I redid the stream and it was a shorter stream. So I just wanted to insert some stuff like this. I might actually go back and play a little bit more of Megabomb later and see if I can insert that into the stream or whatever. All right. Bye. I'll probably cut that off anyways. Suckers. Moving on. We're going to read about the French Revolution. Yeah, because history is important. All right. The French Revolution was a period of political and sociological change in France. It began when the and never mind. Ignore that. It began when the Estates, what the Harry General of 1789. Give me a second. I'm gonna grab some water. Ended with the coup of 18 Brumaire on the 9th of November. 9th. What is with the dates on Wikipedia? It's like November 9th or 9th of November 1799. Many of the revolution's ideas are considered fundamental principles of liberal democracy. Its values remain the center of the modern French political discourse. It was caused by a combination of social, political, and economic factors which existing regime proved unable to manage. Storming of the Bastille. Interesting. It was an act of political violence by revolution insurgents who attempted insurgents. I want to look up that. Who attempted to storm and seize control of the medieval armory, fortress, and political prison known as the Bastille after 4 hours of fighting and 94 blah 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 blah. There's something that comes after that. A financial crisis and widespread social distress led to the convocation. They're using all sorts of words here. Convocation. Convocation. All right, there we go. Convocation. Act of calling people together. Nice. Nice. I'm going to use that one sometime. All right, its first meetings of the Estates General in May 1789. Its first meeting since 1614. The representatives of the Third Estate broke away and reconstituted themselves as a national assembly. In June, the storming of the Bastille of Paris on June 14th of June, stupid, led a series of radical measures by the Assembly, including the abolition of feudalism, state control over the Catholic Church in France, and issued a declaration of the rights of man and of the citizen. The next 3 years were dominated by a struggle for political control. King Louis XVI attempted a flight to Varennes in June 1791, attempted flight further discredits the monarchy and military defeats after the outbreak of the French Revolutionary Wars in April of 1792 led to the insurrection of the 10th of August 1792. As a result, the monarchy was replaced by the French First Republic in September, followed by the execution of Louis XVI himself in January 1693. After another revolt in June 1793, the Constitution was suspended and the political power passed from the National Convention to the Committee of Public Safety, dominated by the radical Jacobins. Jacobins, led by Maximilien Robespierre. About 16,000 people were assembled. About 16,000 people were sentenced by the Revolutionary Tribunal and executed in the Reign of Terror, which ended in July 1794 with the Thermidorian reaction. Weakened by external threats and internal opposition, the Committee of Public Safety was replaced in November 1795 by the Directory. Its instability ended in a coup of the 18 Brumaire and the establishment of the Consulate, with Napoleon Bonaparte as the first consul. Causes, multiple long-term and short-term factions culminating in a social, economic, and political crisis in the late 1780s, combined with a resistance to reform led by the ruling elite and indecisive policy by Louis XVI and his ministers. The result was a crisis in the state the state was unable to manage. Between 1715 and 1789, the French population grew from 21 to 28 million, 28% of whom lived in towns and cities. No, 20% of whom lived in towns and cities. Paris alone having over 600,000 inhabitants. This was accompanied by tripling the size of the middle class, which comprised almost 10% of the population by 1789. Despite the increased overall prosperity, its benefits were largely restricted to the rentier and the mercantile classes, while living standards fell for wage laborers and peasant farmers who rented their land. Economic recession from 1785 combined with bad harvests in 1787 and 1788 led to high unemployment and food prices causing financial and political crises. While the state also experienced a debt crisis, the level of debt itself was not high compared to Britain's. A significant problem was the tax rates varied widely from one region to another and were often different from the official amounts and were collected inconsistently. Complexity and cause and lack of accountability caused resentment among the taxpayers. Attempts to simplify the system were blocked by the regional parliaments, which approved financial policy. The resulting impasse led to the calling of his status, blah, 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 which became radicalized by the struggle for control of public finances. About taxes. Rebellion fought over taxes. Can't imagine that. Britain, looking at you. All right. And you can read more about that if you want. Okay, well, actually, no, I want to finish this section here. Louis XVI was willing to consider reforms, but he often backed down when faced with oppositions from the conservative elements within the nobility. Enlightenment critiques of social institutions were widely discussed among the educated French elites. At the same time, the American Revolution and European revolts of the 1780s were inspired public debate on issues such as patriotism, liberty, equality, and democracy. Okay, I got to read this again. At the same time, the American Revolution and the European revolts of the 1780s inspired public debate on issues such as patriotism, liberty, equality, and democracy. These shaped the response of the educated public to the crisis, while scandals such as the affair of the diamond necklace. Oh, what the hell is this? Huh. His wife. Okay, I want to read that. I'm going to read into that a little bit. Fueled widespread anger at the court, nobility, and church officials. All right. Affair of the diamond necklace. Sounds salacious or something. Affaire de Reina. The affair of the Queen's diamond necklace was an incident from 1784 to 1785 at the court of Louis XVI of France, involved his wife, Queen Marie Antoinette. The Queen's reputation, already tarnished by gossip, was further sullied by false accusations that she participated in a crime to defraud the crown's jewelers in acquiring a very expensive diamond necklace she then refused to pay for. In reality, she rejected the idea of buying it, only to have her signature forged by Jean de conniving wench. Although Valois was later convicted, the event remains historically significant as one of the many things that led to the French disillusionment with the monarchy. So it's not salacious, it's just literally some sort of, interesting. All right, we are going to try and play Megabonk. It's some newfangled game that's come out recently, and let's see if it's any good. 1 and a 2, and away we go. I'm not going to play this for very long. I got to go. Well, technically, I started a stream, and then I deleted that stream because it was having issues with my my headphones and other stuff, and it just all in all turned out to be kind of bad. So I'm going to play this for maybe a little bit here, but maybe we'll get back to it next week or something. Fox, Sir Oofy. That's it. I'm going to go with that guy. Alright. Place whole trees. Alright. What's the controls here? Alright, golden tone. Gold cane. Not back. Silver cane. Oh, for the love. Nice. Hey, demon. Oh, nuclear bomb. Nice. Top bounces, but speed. Out for the love. It's gonna take some getting used to, first control-wise. Blow up or something? Find the boss portal. Yeah, golden tone. Nice. So yeah. There, stop. Oh shit. So I'm gonna guess you only get. Okay. That's the end of that. That's fun. All right, you know what? I'll get back to that later, next week or something. You guys have fun. Have a fun weekend and all that good stuff. I don't even know. Could you even have seen that? Was it showing that to you? Give me a second. I want to I need to know for next week actually. If I'm gonna have some sort of problem with this. All right. Oh yeah, it's going. We're good. We're good. It's a pretty decent game. I'll have to get back to that. See, it feels like it could be habit forming. All right. Thanks for watching. If you like the videos, never mind. Forget about that. Bye.